Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast, and welcome to your Friday Night Smackdown post-show. And man, there is a lot to talk about with what happened on SmackDown. Some controversy towards the end. Some people, I would say the universe, WWE Universe, are not really thrilled with what happened at the end of SmackDown. We're going to talk about that, how I feel about that in today's episode, as far as how I feel the direction of WWE and where they're going towards WrestleMania, and if I agree with the decision in the championship match in the main event of Friday Night SmackDown. So we'll talk about all that and what went down on SmackDown in today's episode, man. But let's start out with the first part of the night. We have Randy Orton coming out to the ring, Elimination Chamber winner Randy Orton, where he will move on to WrestleMania to challenge either Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes at this year's WrestleMania. But Orton comes out to the ring. He talks about WrestleMania. Orton then talks about competing at 20 WrestleManias. But he also says that he's going back to main event WrestleMania one more time. Orton then mentions the likes of Ric Flair, Undertaker, and Harley Race, saying that Orton is one of the best. Orton says that he's earned this opportunity to face McIntyre or Rhodes for the WWE title at WrestleMania. Orton then talks about either facing Rhodes or McIntyre, but Orton says that he is leaving WrestleMania with the WWE Championship. After this, the lights go out, and it's Trick Williams. Trick Williams comes out to the ring with microphone in hand, says that he's got voices in his head, and those voices are pretty much saying that he's got a bone to pick with Orton. Trick then says that he should be in the main event of WrestleMania. Orton then quickly hits an RKO on Trick Williams, leaving Trick Williams helpless in the middle of the ring. Some interesting stuff there between Randy Orton and Trick Williams. Moving on from that, we have a U.S. Open Challenge match. Now, again, in the beginning of the show, you can see Carmelo Hayes talking backstage with Nick Aldis. Aldis said that he had a bunch of challengers from around the world that wanted to challenge Carmelo Hayes. And he knew the opponent for Hayes in the Open Challenge, but Hayes didn't want to know who that competitor was. So Hayes comes out to the ring, and the person that answers that Open Challenge for the U.S. title is none other than AAA's Dr. Wagner Jr. The match itself, I thought, was a good match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Hayes and Wagner Jr., with Wagner hitting an enziguri on Hayes in the middle of the ring. Dr. Wagner Jr. then was keeping the pace of the match, with Hayes hitting a springboard leg drop. Hayes and Wagner both exchanged in the middle of the ring, with Hayes hitting a step-up enziguri on Dr. Wagner Jr. Wagner Jr. then hits a powerbomb on Hayes for a near fall. Hayes then gets up, hits a first 48 for a near fall. Wagner then hits another powerbomb on Hayes for a near fall, but Hayes hits a nothing but net off the top rope, landing on Dr. Wagner Jr., pins for the 3, and your winner of the match, and still United States champion, is Carmelo Hayes. Hats off to Carmelo Hayes for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have a Nia Jax and Lash Legend title celebration. Nia grabs the microphone and says that they have the women's tag team division on lock. After that, Nia Jax and Lash Legend are interrupted by none other than Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Alexa stated that Nia Jax and Lash Legend cheated to get those titles. After that, they're interrupted by Julia and Kiana James. Kiana talks about beating Flair and Bliss at one time. Julia says they want the women's tag team titles. Aldis is here. Aldis then announces that we're going to have a fight on SmackDown. It will be Julia and Kiana versus Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair right now, which gets us into an impromptu matchup where it is Julia and Kiana James taking on the likes of Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. I thought it was a good match, man. It was a back-and-forth matchup between both teams, with Flair hitting a senton off the apron. Julia and Kiana were keeping the pace of the match, with Flair hitting a moonsault on Julia and Kiana James for a near fall. Flair then hits a natural selection in the middle of the ring, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match and seemingly new number 1 contenders for the women's tag team titles are Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. Hats off to Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have a tag team turmoil match, where the winners of this match will be the new number 1 contenders for the tag team titles. We have Motor City Machine Guns and Axiom starting the match. It was a good match between Motor City Machine Guns and Axiom. It was a back-and-forth matchup, with Axiom keeping the pace of the match. Frazier hits an enziguri, but Axiom ended up hitting the finish, pins for the 3, And your winners of the match and moving on in the turmoil match is Axiom. But noted that Sabian's foot was on the ropes. Los Garza are the next team in the match. Los Garza then were keeping the pace of the match, with Los Garza ultimately hitting the finish, pins for the 3, and Axiom is now eliminated for the tag team turmoil match. After that, the Wyatt Six are the next team into the match. Tonga Loa attack Joe Gacy. Berto then hits a roll-up, pins for the 3, and the Wyatt Six are now eliminated from this matchup. R-Truth and Damian Priest are the next tag teams in this matchup, in the tag team turmoil. Damian and Truth are keeping the pace of the match, with Damian pushing Garza over the announce table. Berto then hits a moonsault for a near fall. Truth then hits a 5-knuckle shuffle, straight out of John Cena's playbook, in the middle of the ring, followed by Priest hitting a choke slam. Truth then hits an AA, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match, and seemingly new number 1 contenders, are R-Truth and Damian Priest. Hats off to R-Truth and Damian Priest for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill in the middle of the ring, face-to-face, leading up to their match at WrestleMania. Rhea and Jade both shake hands in the middle of the ring. Jade says that she respects Rhea for what she's done to get to where she's at right now. But Jade also says that she is not impressed. Jade says that she is more powerful than Rhea. Jade says that she's going to beat Rhea at Mania. Rhea then grabs a microphone and says that she's impressed with Jade. But Rhea says that Jade is built for a show, while Rhea is built to fight. Rhea then says in closing that she's going to take the title away from Jade at WrestleMania. Some interesting stuff there between Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill. Moving on from that, we have Johnny Gargano coming out to the ring. He finally, wakes up from whatever the hell he's been going through for the past couple weeks. He goes out to the ring. He grabs the microphone. Gargano says that he is one of the best wrestlers in the world. Gargano then says that he needs to be Johnny Wrestling again. Gargano then throws out an open challenge, and the person that answers that open challenge is none other than Oba Femi, which gets us into an impromptu matchup between Gargano and Oba Femi. This was a glorified squash match, with Oba Femi keeping the pace of the match. Oba then tosses Gargano clearly across the ring, followed by Oba Femi hitting a devastating powerbomb on Gargano, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Oba Femi. The one thing I'll say about this matchup between Gargano and Oba Femi, it does beg the question, which we'll talk more about this at the end of this episode, is I wonder when Gargano's contract is coming up with WWE, and is in fact Gargano on his way out of WWE. And moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is for the WWE title. It's the main event. It is Drew McIntyre defending the WWE title against Cody Rhodes. I thought this was a good match, man. It was a back-and-forth matchup between McIntyre and Rhodes, with Rhodes keeping the pace of the match. Rhodes hits a disaster kick on McIntyre, but Drew gets up, hits a brainbuster on Rhodes in the middle of the ring for a near fall. Rhodes then hits a power slam, followed by Rhodes hitting a Cody Cutter on McIntyre. Rhodes then hits a superplex, followed by Rhodes applying a figure 4 leg lock on McIntyre in the middle of the ring, but the hold is broken. Rhodes then goes for a crossroads on the announce table, but Drew hits Rhodes. The announce table then suddenly breaks. Drew then hits a powerbomb on Rhodes through a table on the outside. Drew then hits crossroads of his own on Rhodes for a near fall, and then Rhodes hits a Claymore kick of his own on McIntyre for a near fall as well. Drew then grabs the referee. Rhodes accidentally takes out the ref, but Rhodes then hits another crossroads on McIntyre, but there's no ref to be found. Drew then gets up, hits a Claymore kick for a near fall on Rhodes, but then Drew then stares down another referee. Drew then attacks the ref. Fatu is here. He grabs a chair from Drew, but Drew hits a Future Shock DDT. Drew then missed a Claymore. Rhodes then hits a Cody Cutter, followed by Rhodes hitting a crossroads on Drew McIntyre in the middle of the ring, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and new WWE Champion is Cody Rhodes. Hats off to Cody Rhodes for getting the win in that match and becoming the new WWE Champion. A couple of things I want to talk about with you guys, man, when it pertains to Friday Night SmackDown before I get the hell up out of here. Number one, was it a solid show? It was a decent show at best. Honestly, I think there was a lot of controversy that came out of this show that I definitely want to talk about. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, shall we, with Cody Rhodes. Now, a lot of people, I will say this, there was news that even came out about this. I think WWE put a YouTube clip up on their YouTube channel about this match, and it was probably one of the worst disliked videos in all of WWE within the 2026 so far. A lot of people were not happy nor thrilled with the outcome of this Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre match. So I wanted to talk to you guys about that and how I feel about that, man. Number one, am I completely shocked that WWE chose Cody Rhodes to get the win over McIntyre in this matchup, and it's going to be Rhodes versus Orton at WrestleMania? No, I'm not. It might be a hot take for a lot of people to understand that, but I am not shocked at all, man. WWE, I mean, for a while, bro, we're talking since Rumble, if not before Rumble, WWE has been playing it safe, man, on this road to WrestleMania. And it's progressively gotten worse as weeks have gone on. They are playing it safe. They're basically backpedaling at this point because they're trying to figure out matches to make that's going to generate more money for WWE going into Vegas for WrestleMania this year. And they are backpedaling. Now, again, there is a lot of injuries right now that are basically hindering the main event scene for WrestleMania. Most notably, Braun Breaker is out with injury. We also had the likes of Bronson Reed out with injury. We just got the return of Seth Rollins. So there's a lot of shakeup, especially on the Monday Night Raw side of things, going into this year's WrestleMania. But WWE is backpedaling, bro. They are backpedaling because right now they really I genuinely believe they don't even know what the fuck they're doing right now. Creative plans for WWE went right out the goddamn wazoo, bro, with all these injuries and shit that WWE has had, which ultimately has caused WrestleMania to be an influx right now because no one really knows what the hell's going on. So right now, WWE are playing it safe. They're going to use the most notable names right now to be in the WrestleMania scene, whether it's a match that makes sense or a match that doesn't make sense right now. And I think that's the reason why they went with Cody Rhodes on Friday night. A lot of people, there's certain people out there that want to see Rhodes versus Orton because the history that Orton has with Rhodes. I mean, we're talking about two guys seemingly at one time that were tied to the hip. Rhodes was a part of Legacy back in the day where it was Rhodes, Orton, and Ted DiBiase Jr., I believe. So obviously there's a familiarity here between Rhodes and Orton. A lot of familiarities. These guys are best friends. But it's a match that a lot of fans want to see. They want to see the Viper versus the Nightmare. They want to see Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. And right now, this is something where they could build for the next 6 weeks to get us any kind of storyline here going into this matchup between Rhodes and Orton. Now, a lot of people are going to also argue the fact that I don't understand why they just had McIntyre hold the belt and then drop it back to Cody Rhodes. I'm going to be honest. There's two reasons why they dropped this belt from McIntyre. McIntyre, in my honest opinion, and I said this when he won the title, I think it was definitely something that was needed. SmackDown needed something to shake things up, and Cody Rhodes needed a chase for the title, and that's exactly what they did. So we had McIntyre beat Rhodes in the 3 Stages of Hell match, and McIntyre became the new WWE champion. And then Cody Rhodes seemingly was chasing after McIntyre to give it, once again, the WWE title. They needed a shakeup, bro. But the reason why he dropped that title is mainly for 2 reasons. One, McIntyre, I believe, is filming a movie around WrestleMania or after WrestleMania, which I believe it's Highlander, if I'm not mistaken. He's supposed to be in that movie, so he's going to have some time off, from WWE to go film that movie. And right now, I think a lot of it came down to the fact that I don't think WWE had a lot of faith in Drew main eventing WrestleMania, to be honest with you. And again, the reason why I'm saying this is because the main event scene, especially when it pertains to the WWE title, a lot of that shit alone was in flux. Because you had other names surrounding this title. You had Drew, you had Rhodes, you had Fatu, you had Orton, you also had Sami Zayn. I mean, you guys have to remember, a lot of people, myself included, were seriously contemplating on the fact that maybe WWE was going to push forward with a possibility of a Fatal 4-Way or a Fatal 5-Way for the Universal title at WrestleMania. And they opted out of that so far, and right now it's going to be Orton and Rhodes. And I do genuinely believe that it will be Drew McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu at WrestleMania, which McIntyre and Fatu will not main event WrestleMania. So it goes back to what I said. I don't think they really wanted McIntyre to main event WrestleMania. And I believe that he's going to be filming a movie, being McIntyre. I believe it's Highlander, that he's going to be taking some time off from WWE, and he's going to be filming that movie. So I think that's another reason why they ended up taking the belt off McIntyre and putting it on Rhodes. Now, I know a lot of people are not happy nor thrilled with this decision. Me personally, you could kind of see the writing on the wall that it was going to be Rhodes, because WWE has been playing it safe, bro. From the Rumble to the Chamber, they are playing it safe. You know, look at the Rhea Ripley situation, which I'll talk about in a second. WWE is playing it safe, man. They are trying to use the best top names right now that they have available that are not injured, that are healthy and ready to go, to push towards WrestleMania. You know, another prime example too, a money match that, you know, hopefully they actually contemplate doing, being WWE, would be Brock Lesnar versus Obafemi. But after what happened on Monday Night Raw and Seth Rollins attacking Paul Heyman, is this something where maybe WWE is contemplating putting Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins in the middle of the ring at WrestleMania after what Seth Rollins did to Paul Heyman? Remember, Heyman is the advocate, if you will, for Brock Lesnar. We all know that. Maybe Brock saw what happened to Heyman on Monday Night Raw this past week and said, you know what? The hell with the open challenge. We're going to challenge, we're going to have Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins at this year's WrestleMania. Because you had to ask yourself this. More than likely, right now, the Vision don't have anybody right now. They don't. Breaker's out, Bronson Reed's out. You have Theory and Logan Paul. And after what happened, even on SmackDown, or I believe it was SmackDown, or no, it was Monday Night Raw, to be exact. You saw the Usos getting involved in that. So more than likely, it's going to be the Usos versus the Vision, Logan Paul and Austin Theory. So that leaves Seth Rollins with no opponent going into WrestleMania. So most likely, it's going to be Brock Lesnar, or it could be LA Knight versus Brock Lesnar. We don't know. You know, there's going to be a lot. It's going to be a very tall task to see how this shit even plays out with the Vision, because it also would leave out LA Knight not being a part of this year's WrestleMania. It also could leave Obafemi out of this year's WrestleMania as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of influx that we have right now going into WrestleMania, where roughly we have 6 weeks to get us to WrestleMania, to get us to Vegas. And that's with stories, making competitive matches, and matches that make sense. And some of these matches, a lot of people they're like, you know, but I think that's the reason why so many people were upset with this Rhodes decision, because they wanted to see Drew McIntyre. They wanted to see something different. But I think WWE and Triple H and the powers that be would have played it safe, man. And they have more faith with Cody Rhodes than they do Drew McIntyre, clearly. And right now they want to see Rhodes versus Orton. Because right now on paper, I think WrestleMania-wise, we have Rhodes and Orton as of now. We have Punk and Reigns. We have Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer for the Women's World title. As far as I know. You know, they're trying to put and Jade Cargill versus Rhea Ripley. They're trying to put some heavy hitters on this WrestleMania card the best way they can, no matter how they do it, just to facilitate the fact that they're trying to make money, man. WWE is becoming all about greed and all about money. And yeah, there's injuries that are hindering this card, without a shadow of a doubt, but they are playing it safe to get us to WrestleMania the best way they can. Speaking of other main eventers and heavy hitters, this is something else that I wanted to talk about too. This Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill situation. Now, again, there's been a lot of shit that's been coming out as of late, specifically about Jade and the backstage heat that Jade has had as of late. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Do I feel like it's a partial work? Yeah. Obviously, they need to hype up this matchup between Jade and Rhea Ripley. Now, do I also feel like it's a shoot? Yeah. I do believe that Jade does have some legitimate backstage heat within WWE. I do. I think as of now, it's more prevalent now than ever. I do think that she has backstage heat. I think WWE is playing it very cautiously and very safe with Jade to make Jade Cargill look good. There's been a lot, even people that I've talked to, and I've said it myself, that Jade should have went right to NXT and not fast-tracked to the main roster. And my standpoint on that has been the same. There is other talent right now that are more worthy of a main event spot in WrestleMania or be on the main event WrestleMania card than Jade. I'm sorry. I mean, I genuinely believe right now that there are current NXT talent right now that are a lot better than what we're getting with Jade Cargill. Kalani Jordan, JC Jane, Blake Monroe, Jada Parker. There's other names right now, in my opinion, that are a lot better of a talent than what we're seeing in Jade Cargill. They are playing it safe with Jade. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, you know, Rhea is going to bring the best out of Jade. No, Rhea is going to carry this goddamn match with Jade. That's exactly what's going to happen. And if Rhea somehow becomes the champion, am I against it? No. Because Jade Cargill's title reign has been one of the most embarrassing title reigns in all of WWE history. I mean, she's had very limited title defenses, and she's held that belt now for over 100 days. They are playing it safe with Jade. They're very selective as far as opponents for Jade that Jade can work with. And 9 times out of 10, that other talent are putting Jade over. Jade cannot wrestle. I'm sorry to break it to Jade Cargill fans. I am sorry, but that woman cannot wrestle. She can't, bro. She's very one-dimensional. And I think at this point now, the thing with Jade, man, I think Jade, first and foremost, she's a phenomenal athlete. And she's built like a brick shit house. There's no shadow of a doubt with that. She has a shitload of athleticism, and she's a very strong woman. We all see that. We all know that. We all acknowledge that. You know, but Rhea made a solid point in that back and forth promo that she had with Jade, where Rhea had mentioned that Jade's built for show, while Rhea's built to fight. And honestly, I think Rhea couldn't have put that any perfectly than she did. Jade is built for show. Absolutely. I don't think she's built to fight, nor do I think she's built to wrestle. She's about the show. She's about the aesthetics that come with her working with WWE. I don't know the right terminology to use here with this, but she's there for the show, bro. I think I made comments about this a while back ago with Jade. If there was a Divas revolution, where we had total divas again and everything, Jade would be at the forefront of that 100%. 100%. But we're not in that era anymore. We're in an era now where the women's division is more stronger than ever in WWE, with the likes of Rhea Ripley, Tiffany Stratton, Io Sky, and other names that follow. Jade is just, to me, she's not in that category as far as being a female wrestler for WWE. She is all show. And it kind of, the thing of it is, that I made comments about this, and I stayed on business with this. And I said that Jade has a lot of similarities to Goldberg, to a Sid Vicious, and to an Ahmed Johnson. She has the same build, a flash in the pan talent. I mean, when Ahmed Johnson came in, if you guys go back as far as I do with pro wrestling, when Ahmed Johnson came into WWF, at the time, WWF was pushing him right into the Intercontinental title scene without a shadow of a doubt. They had Ahmed Johnson beefing with the Nation of Domination. Ahmed had matches with Goldust, and they really were pushing him towards the Intercontinental Championship. But at the end of the day, he was a flash in the pan talent. He really was. Very one-dimensional, had the devastating powerbomb, and that was it. And really badass entrance music. I'll give Ahmed Johnson that. But it wasn't like they were pushing this guy a lot to be in the main event scene on a consistent basis on Raw or even on the pay-per-views back in the day. They had him chasing after the Intercontinental title. And while I'm a big fan of Sid Vicious, and some people say, well, bro, he's not really a flash in the pan talent. Maybe not. But honestly, on paper, how many times could you say that Sid actually was the main event in WrestleMania? Number one. Number two, how many times can you say that he was really a main event star in WWF? Honestly. Besides the match that he had with Hogan at Mania, which, from what I understand, that match wasn't even supposed to happen. Or it wasn't supposed to be the main event of that year's WrestleMania between Sid and Hogan. And then you also had Sid and Shawn Michaels. Roughly around, I believe it was the Royal Rumble, I think, in San Antonio, Texas, when they had Jose Lothario managing Shawn Michaels, and they had that whole story between Sid Vicious and Shawn Michaels, which, again, it was a great story. Sid Vicious attacking Jose Lothario, this pissed off Shawn. They get a match at San Antonio, I believe at the Rumble. It was a great match. It was for the WWF title. But again, how many times do you see Sid Vicious in the main event scene for WWF? Not that much. You can say the same thing about Sid and WCW. It wasn't like he was in the main event scene on a consistent basis, even when they brought him in as the Millennium Man in late 1999, early 2000. It wasn't like they were really severely pushing Sid, to be honest with you. And if that's the case, we're talking about a time in WCW where WCW was on the verge of closing a year or two later. So, I mean, again, bro, it's not like, you know what I'm saying? And like with Goldberg, it is kind of, I wouldn't say flash in the pan talent, but very one-dimensional. And WCW was pushing Goldberg to the absolute goddamn moon because they needed another name to solidify the main event scene in WCW. And yeah, credit, we haven't really seen Jade that much in the main event scene. Christ, she's hardly even defended that goddamn title. I just feel like Jade has done nothing up to this point to even get her an opportunity to have a match at WrestleMania, to be honest with you. And the fact of the matter is as far as Jade's concerned, they are backpedaling, bro, because the match to make was Jade versus Bianca. But unfortunately, Bianca got injured, her hand's jacked up, and she's going to have to get hand surgery, which is ultimately taking her out of this year's WrestleMania. That's why they were saving this matchup between Jade and Bianca. That was the match to make, where Bianca most likely would have gone over and beat Jade and became the women's world champion. But unfortunately, she got injured, and we had to find someone else, which was Rhea Ripley. But it also goes to show you that we have a Raw superstar challenging a SmackDown superstar for SmackDown's women's title. Also goes to show you how bad the women's division is on SmackDown, bro. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. The other thing I want to talk about, too, a couple other things. Obviously, Johnny Gargano. Look, man, I'm going to be honest. I mentioned this when I was talking about it earlier when he had the impromptu match with Obafemi. I don't know when Gargano's contract's up, but if I had to be a betting man, I'm assuming his contract is coming up here relatively soon. And Gargano's most likely on his way over to AEW. If he decides to stay in WWE, God bless him. But I don't know really what's next for Johnny Gargano in WWE. I don't see them pushing him in the main event scene. I just don't. They had DIY until Ciampa left, and obviously we all know that Ciampa went over to AEW. I don't really know what's left for the likes of either both Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae in WWE, bro. I really don't. Obviously Gargano and Ciampa have a lot of ties over to AEW. They have a lot of friends over in AEW, just working on the independent scenes and stuff like that. But, Gargano, this is the thing with Gargano. Gargano could go over to AEW and could possibly be the biggest babyface in the company and return back to Johnny Wrestling. Absolutely. Right now, Ciampa, he came into the fold and became TNT champion. Yeah, he dropped the belt relatively quickly, but they were really, at the time, I thought they were going to push Ciampa. And Ciampa said that he's there to be a main event guy. He wants to be the guy for AEW. So you bring in someone like Johnny Gargano, he could be the biggest babyface of the company. A guy that, at one time, a lot of people were comparing Johnny Gargano to the likes of a Bryan Danielson. I'm not against that. It does beg the question, though, when is Johnny Gargano's contract coming up with WWE? Because if I was Gargano, I'd be contemplating a lot of decisions if I was willing to re-sign with WWE or venture out and go somewhere else to wrestle and finish out my career. Because there is a lot of matches, even on the table for AEW for Gargano to have that would be absolute banger matches. So I'm just saying, who knows, bro? But if I was Gargano, when my contract came up with WWE, I'd be contemplating a lot as far as whether to stay with WWE or take my talent somewhere else. Other thing, too, as well, SmackDown, it wasn't the greatest show. We saw Obafemi obviously challenge Johnny Gargano. I don't know what's going on with Obafemi, to be honest with you. I don't know if he's going to be challenging Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I know the rumor right now is that they're contemplating adding Seth Rollins versus Lesnar at WrestleMania after what Rollins did to Paul Heyman on Monday Night Raw. So I don't know if they're going to book, Lesnar and Rollins. The way that I see it, I can totally see that happening right now due to what Rollins did to Heyman. Logan Paul and Austin Theory taking on the Usos after what the Usos did to Paul Heyman and to Austin Theory and Logan Paul, so I can totally see that. But like I said, man, I told you guys, this year's WrestleMania, to me, honestly, I feel like it's going to be lackluster. To be honest, I don't feel like it's going to be something where, besides maybe at this point now, if everything goes according to plan, I would say besides Punk and Roman and maybe Rhodes and Orton, I think those are the only two matches that I'm honestly legitimately interested in. To be honest, I give a shit less about Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill. Stephanie Vaquer and Liv Morgan, to be honest, you know what I'm saying? They're backpedaling, bro. They're playing it safe. They're playing it safe. And that, to me, that goes right in hand with how everybody feels about Cody Rhodes. Now, to me personally, am I mad with the decision? No. Because I know the deal. I know they're playing it safe. But I know a lot of other people in the WWE universe are legitimately pissed off that they took the belt off McIntyre and put it on Rhodes. But you also have to be realistic. They're going to play the hot hand. And right now, it's Cody Rhodes. There's no way in hell that you're not going to have Cody Rhodes a part of this year's WrestleMania. There's no way that's not going to happen. There's no fucking way. So you had to find a way to facilitate the fact that, okay, well, how are we going to put Cody Rhodes onto this year's WrestleMania card. And it actually be meaningful. You're not going to book Rhodes and Reigns because Reigns has already got a World Heavyweight Championship match against Punk. That's not going to happen. So again, you could go with the whole Fatal 4-Way if you wanted to, where McIntyre, Rhodes, Orton, and Jacob Fatu. You could go that route. But I don't think WWE was really interested in booking a Fatal 4-Way for the WWE Championship. Now, again, some people could say, well, bro, McIntyre, he was red hot coming out the gate. He had the belt. He had some good matches. Why couldn't we have Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton? Again, it's hard for me to disagree with you. It would have been a hell of a match. McIntyre and Orton would have been a hell of a match. I'm not disagreeing with y'all at all. But right now, again, you have to realize what I'm telling y'all, man. WWE is playing it safe. They feel as if they can generate more money by putting Cody Rhodes on the WrestleMania card than they could Drew McIntyre. Now, I'm not saying McIntyre is not going to be on the card, but what I'm saying is they can make more money as Orton and Rhodes in the main event on night one than McIntyre and Orton. I guarantee you that was probably somebody's mindset back in creative, saying, you know what, we can generate more dollars if it's Orton and Rhodes rather than Orton and McIntyre. I guarantee you some dumbass in the back probably said that. You know what I mean? And as far as the creative team for WWE, man, holy shit. I've seen the Unreal documentary on Netflix, bro. Holy Christ, man. That is a shit show and a half. And speaking of that, I wanted to talk about this briefly, too. That news that just came out a couple days ago that Road Dogg, Brian James, is no longer with WWE. He ended up pretty much parting ways with WWE, and he's no longer a part of the writing team or creative team moving forward with WWE. He ended up backing out of the contract. He's out. He's no longer employed with the company. Now, after this happened, they got a lot of people talking that the possibility that WWE, Triple H, and Nick Khan are looking to clean house, if you will, with a lot of the writing team moving forward. Some people were talking about Bruce Pritchard being fired, other names backstage being let go, but so far, as of late, it's only been Road Dogg, Brian James, has been, and it wasn't even like he was let go. Road Dogg ended up just walking away and quitting. But if you look at the Unreal documentary on Netflix, I'm not shocked that, this was a guy that was willing to push Chelsea Green to the goddamn moon. And obviously he was getting frustrated with Hunter and the creative processes that was going on backstage. And I felt like it just got too much for him, and he ended up packing up ship and rolling the hell out. He was just done. He was frustrated. It was something where I felt like maybe he couldn't get a word in edgewise, and maybe he was just frustrated and said, you know what, the hell with this, I'm out. Not to a point where, do I think he's going to be missed? Hell no. No. And it wasn't just Road Dogg with a bad creative on SmackDown. There's a lot of other hands into that than just Road Dogg. Road Dogg was just a fall guy for that. But, to me, man, no matter who they bring in as far as being on the creative team, Raw and SmackDown have been shit for a while now. It has been, bro. Let's just keep it a buck. It's been shit. No sense of direction. Storylines are lackadaisical. There's no significant push for storylines, no interest, no intrigue, because they're playing it safe. And that's just the bottom line of it, man. They are playing it safe. WWE nowadays is all about the money. It's all about the greed. What can we do at this point, and what can we book to generate dollars? Hands over fist. Pretty much that's what it is. Cash, cash, cash. Just like when they go over to Saudi Arabia, bro, they're banking a shitload of money. They don't give it. They can put on whatever bullshit card they want, but they know at the end of the day, it's about the money. It's about the money. So because of that, and that mindset alone for WWE, when it's all about the money, the creative side of things takes a massive shit. Because when you're thinking all about the money, you don't give a shit about the creative or the stories that go along with it for you to help you get that money. They can book anything. They can book 2 slices of bread to compete in the middle of the goddamn ring. As long as they're making $50 million doing it, they don't give a rat's ass who's wrestling in that goddamn ring. They don't give a shit, man. They don't care. This company is about the money. That's all it is. That's all it is, and that's what it's going to be, bro. That's what it's going to be. I honestly think I will go on, this tangent about WrestleMania in the aspect that this WrestleMania could possibly be worse than last year's. It very well could be. I think a lot of people are hoping that this card's going to be good. We have Roman and CM Punk. We have possibility of Orton and Rhodes. But I think after that, the hype around WrestleMania this year, bro, I think it's going to fall flat. I think, honestly, a lot of people are genuinely going to be disappointed this year. I genuinely believe that. I think the hype around WrestleMania, I guess the feeling, if you will, of going into WrestleMania, being the fact that WrestleMania is the biggest show of the year for pro wrestling. It is the Super Bowl of professional wrestling. I feel like it's lost its aura, man. It's lost its nostalgia. It's lost its feeling going into WrestleMania, where it's like, holy shit, man, we're finally at WrestleMania. I feel like I haven't felt like that in a very long time as a fan for WrestleMania. And I could just be the only person saying that, and by all means, I'll take it. But it doesn't have the same feeling anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not, like, it's not super exciting. It doesn't get me like, holy shit, like, oh my God, we're at WrestleMania finally, bro. After this whole year, we finally get to WrestleMania. I'm not getting that vibe this year, man. I'm just not. To me, I feel like it's another PLE that they're throwing on. That's a 2-day event in April. And at the end of the day, in all honesty, we shouldn't feel like that. We should be super excited, be like, oh my God, man, holy shit, WrestleMania is here. But I'm not getting that vibe. I'm just not. I think a lot of people, bro, are really legitimately going to be disappointed this year with WrestleMania. And also knowing that it's literally back-to-back WrestleManias in Las Vegas in the same damn stadium, back-to-back, because of that bullshit residency they had in Las Vegas. They're running it back in Allegiant Stadium, where the Raiders play. You know what I mean? Like, let's get a new city. Let's get a new stadium. Let's get a new arena. Like, there's no reason why we should be running it back in the same city for WrestleMania. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know, bro. I feel like, honestly, I feel like this WrestleMania, from the very beginning when it was announced, was cursed, man. Ever since they said they were running it back in Vegas, a lot of people were fucking pissed off, man. A lot. Like, oh, I can't believe they're going back to Vegas. They're going back to Vegas in the same goddamn stadium again. Like, there's time for a change, man. Let's rip off the Band-Aid and go somewhere else. I mean, I said it from the beginning. The fans of New Orleans, when The Rock came out and said, "Oh, WrestleMania is going back to New Orleans," and then seemingly WWE swept the rug underneath the fans of New Orleans and said, "Oh, you know what? We're going to Vegas." I feel bad for the wrestling fans of New Orleans, bro. New Orleans is a great wrestling city. It's a great wrestling town. And WWE is like, you know what? The hell with y'all. We're going to Vegas. Like, it's a slap in the goddamn face, man. It is. It's a slap in the face. This company is about the mighty dollar, man. That's the way it is. And again, you got to make your money. I understand. It's a business. At the end of the day, WWE is a global business. I get it. But at the same time, when if you're purely focused just on the business side of things and not the reason why we're all here, a lot of those fans are going to end up going somewhere else, man. You know what I mean? Like, they want intriguing storylines. They want intrigue. They want to invest in the product. They want to invest in the storyline to get us to these pay-per-views to watch the matches. The when, the where, and the why. You know what I mean? And to me, I feel like WWE really hasn't been doing that as of late. They're playing it safe. They are playing it safe. You know, they're bringing out whatever heavy hitters they got left to book at WrestleMania just to play it safe, because right now, they honestly don't know what the hell they're doing, man. They're backpedaling. They are playing it safe right now going into this year's WrestleMania. And if you guys haven't noticed by now, then I don't know what to tell you, man. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. You can see it week in and week out on Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, man. They are playing it safe, and WWE is backpedaling like hell going into WrestleMania, which seemingly is about 6 weeks away. You know what I mean? Like I said, bro, look at the Jade Cargill situation. I think they were trying to wait to book Jade versus Bianca, but unfortunately Bianca got injured. Now we got Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill for the Women's WWE Championship. And a lot of people, like I said, oh man, Rhea is going to bring the best out of Jade. Yeah, because Rhea is going to be doing 90% of the goddamn work in this match to make Jade look good. Jade cannot wrestle, bro. Like I said, Rhea Ripley said it perfectly. Jade is built for show, while Rhea is built to fight. And you can't be more honest than that, man. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to about Jade Cargill, and they've all said the same goddamn thing. When Jade left AEW, there was no reason why they should have fast-tracked her to the main roster. She should have had at least a year under NXT's banner. At least, to work on promos, in-ring skills, in-ring ability, all that shit. But no, they fast-tracked her to the main roster. And it's turned into a goddamn shit show ever since, bro. Honestly. It wasn't, even when they brought her in, it wasn't like she was really on a singles run, man. They booked her with Bianca and Naomi. Two veterans in that locker room to help Jade out because they didn't want to have Jade on her own. She wasn't ready. She was not ready. You brought her in the main roster for a slap in the face to Tony Khan and it ultimately backfired in y'all's faces. That's exactly what this is, man. There's so many other talent right now that are in NXT by far that are better talents or a better talent than Jade is. Like I mentioned, Kalani Jordan, JC Jane, Blake Monroe, Parker. I mean, bro, come on. Women that are down there wrestling their asses off to try to make it to the main roster scene. I saw Kalani Jordan at the Rumble. She looked fantastic. Fantastic. She's main roster ready, without a shadow of a doubt. And that woman can wrestle. While Jade can't. She's there for the looks, man. She's there for the show. That's why I said if this was back to the Divas era, Jade would be at the forefront of that shit, without a shadow of a doubt. Absolutely. So for those people out there, oh yeah, Jade's going to have one of her best matches of all time at WrestleMania. Why? Because Rhea's going to be doing 90 to 95% of the work? Probably. Rhea is going to carry this match against Jade. For all intents and purposes, Rhea can expose Jade at WrestleMania and show everybody how bad of a wrestler she really is. And some people say, bro, you're really harsh on Jade, man. No. Everybody is harsh on Jade Cargill, man. I'm not going to sugarcoat shit for nobody. I'm sorry. I'm not. I am not, man. I'm not. There's no way. You can't honestly tell me that, oh, Jade's a top star and she's had a hell of a title run, bro. Have you lost your fucking mind? Have you lost your mind? Because the funny thing is that Jade Cargill, at this current moment, is the WWE Women's Champion. Right now. Which is funny if you look in the aspect of Becky Lynch, who at one time was the Women's Intercontinental Champion, which was Raw's secondary Women's Champion, their mid-card title. And Becky Lynch has done more and had been more storylines with the Women's Intercontinental title than Jade has as SmackDown's World Champion. I rest my case, bro. Like, I mean, get the fuck out of here, man. Seriously, bro. Seriously. But people praise Jade. Why, man? Why? I said the same shit about Zelina Vega. Her title run was shit with the Women's U.S. title. She's better off sticking around with Aleister Black to be a manager. I'm not going to sugarcoat shit. I don't give a damn who it is or who they think. I don't give a damn, bro. I see it how I see it. I've been watching wrestling for a very long time, man. A long time. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I've seen it all. But I can see a talent from a mile away. And Jade Cargill is not... There's no talent. I'm sorry. She's there for the look. She's there for the look. She's there for the show. That's pretty much what it is. We all know that she's built like a brick shit house. We all know that she's an athlete. We all know that she has the athleticism to be in the squared circle. We all know that. But can she legitimately wrestle? No, she cannot. She can't. She can't. So the same thing about Zelina Vega. Which, no offense, Zelina can wrestle better than Jade. In my honest opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. They were saving Jade for Bianca, and you cannot convince me otherwise. But because Bianca got injured, and is not making WrestleMania this year, they needed a plan B for Jade. Which got us to the Chamber. Which got us to Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill. Which, honestly, it could have been Charlotte Flair versus Jade. It's a match that they've been teasing for quite some time. They just haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. No matter who it was going to be, whether it was going to be Charlotte Flair or Rhea Ripley, either Charlotte or Rhea were going to be doing 90 to 95% of the work to make Jade look good. Because Jade's not ready. Jade's not ready. I'm sorry. She needed another year in NXT to develop her craft, her in-ring ability, so she can go to the main roster, even if it took a year. Fine. Because right now, there's been women, hell, Jordynne Grace, bro, look how long she was on NXT. She's a main roster caliber talent, but she still went down to NXT, still developed her craft, learned the WWE system. You know what I'm saying? Then this woman has a lot more wrestling background and more time wrestling in the ring than Jade had. But she still went to NXT. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's fucking crazy. Blake Monroe. Mariah May. I mean, look at the run that she had in AEW with Toni Storm. Probably some of the best women matches of all of that company. She get fast-tracked to the main roster? No. She went to NXT, had a completely different name change, and turned into Blake Monroe, and look what she's doing now. You know what I'm saying, bro? Like, you go into the fast track to the main roster sometimes will bite you in the ass. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard talents that said, man, I wish I went to NXT first before I went to the main roster. Or, man, I wish I would have just stayed in NXT and not gone to the main roster. You'll hear Swerve Strickland say it. His best time in WWE was in NXT. Dijak, he stated verbatim that the minute he knew he got called up to the main roster, he was going to be cut. AJ Styles, the phenomenal one, said that he wished he went to NXT for a little while before he got called up to the main roster. A guy that has been wrestling on WCW, and a guy who made a name for himself wrestling in TNA. But when he got called to go to WWE, he said he'd rather go on to NXT first than the main roster. You know what I'm saying? NXT is not that bad. They will help you develop as a superstar to prepare you for the main roster. That you can learn the WWE system before you get called up. Kevin Owens, NXT. Sami Zayn, NXT. You know, Neville, a.k.a. Pac, NXT. Bryan Danielson, NXT. You know what I mean? It's not a bad developmental system to get you prepared for the main roster. You know what I mean? And that's just to name a couple. Nakamura. Hell, McIntyre. Bobby Roode. These were all names that at one time wrestled for NXT and then eventually got called up to the main roster and became a superstar at one time. They just fast-tracked Jade to the main roster. Why? Just to have a slap in the face to Tony Khan? No offense. If I was Tony Khan, I'd be laughing my ass off right now. Because Jade is a mess. She's a mess, bro. She's there for the show. Rhea Ripley put it perfectly. So, I don't know, man. At the end of the day, I genuinely believe that they're playing it safe. Meaning WWE going into WrestleMania. They are playing it safe because they are backpedaling their asses off right now to get us 6 weeks into WrestleMania. That's what they're trying to do, bro. And I genuinely believe that this year's WrestleMania is going to be very lackluster, and I think a lot of people, minus the CM Punk match and Reigns, maybe Orton and Rhodes, they're going to be very, very, very highly disappointed this year. Honestly, this might go down as a WrestleMania where a lot of people are going to be like, bro, what the hell did we just watch? It very well could be. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I am wrong. I hope this WrestleMania is going to be awesome. And I am looking forward to Punk and Reigns. I am looking forward to Orton and Rhodes. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope this WrestleMania is awesome. But, bro, I do not have a lot of faith at the current regime that WWE has right now to put on a great WrestleMania show in about 6 weeks. I just don't have a lot of faith in the current regime in WWE right now to put on a really good WrestleMania. I just don't. But with that being said, though, this is my review of Friday Night Smackdown. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.